Welcome, man. In this video, we're going to talk about the four things that we should have learned about sexuality as teenagers. Let's face it, most of us are in the same place where we did not receive the education, we did not receive the mentorship that we needed. And that is why it is so important to know this information. I've worked with thousands of men all over the world, and most men are unaware of these four things. Wait till the end of the video. Once you've listened to all four, you'll be able to understand which one has had the most impact on your life, start to get educated, and make shifts in your relationship with sexuality, leading to more fulfillment, leading to more satisfaction, and you getting the things that you desire. Let's get started. The first thing that we needed to learn about sexuality as teenagers is that our minds make up stories. Our minds make up stories so that we feel that we understand. And when we feel that we understand, we feel like we're safe. Now let's look at our teenage years, especially when it comes to sexuality. You had no idea what was going to happen when you went into your first intimate interactions. Whether it was the first time you got into foreplay, the first time you had sex, maybe you had some side chatter with your buddies, maybe you watched a video and you took in lessons from that, but you had no idea what you were doing. And all that information coming in through your senses, your eyes, your ears, touch, all that information was going into the brain, and the brain was starting to go, okay, this is what this is. This is what this is. This is what this is. It starts to compartmentalize and make sense of the world and people. Now, with sexuality, most of us had inadequate education. We didn't have deep understanding of what we were getting into in the world of sexuality and the depth that really exists there. Most adults that exist today have no idea. On top of that, we didn't have mentorship. We didn't have healthy, mature men around us to say, hey, you're going to face this. You're going to face this. This is something you need to know about your body. This is something you need to understand about sexuality. That mentorship wasn't there. And most of us faced experiences that our mind just could not understand. A good example of this is if you've ever been cheated on, if you've ever been rejected. There's things that we've faced that our brains just didn't know what to do with it. And one of the best things that the brain knows how to do is make up stories. When it comes to sexuality, because there's very few places to talk about it, one of the mind's favorite stories is this must be about me. There must be something wrong with me. I must be bad. I must be wrong. And it's so potent because it will just make sense of whatever happened if I say, oh, I must be bad. That's why that happened. Then the mind just goes, okay, yeah, you must be bad. That makes sense. So we need to be extremely aware of what stories our minds made up because those turn into beliefs and those beliefs impact our behaviors. A lot of sexual habits become habitual by the time we're in our late 20s, we're in our early 30s, and most of those habits come from stories that we made up that then turned into behaviors. Now, this is extremely important because this impacts erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, performance anxiety. We'll talk more about that as we continue. But number one, the first thing we needed to understand is that our minds make up stories. The second thing we needed to understand about sexuality as teenagers is that our minds are hardwired to chase or move towards pleasure. This is a survival mechanism. Our brain's number one care is keeping us alive. And so pleasure represents safety. It represents survival. It represents our needs are being met. This is extremely important when it comes to our relationship with sexuality because it's a place to realize that it's perfectly natural to move towards pleasure. And the biggest problems that exist in connection to sexuality is the stories that society tells, or the religion tells, or that parents pass down from whatever they learn, and they make sexuality a problem instead of just saying, hey, you are hardwired to move towards pleasure. It's really important that you learn how to navigate that. Now, not only are we hardwired to move towards pleasure, we're hardwired to procreate, and sexuality is designed to feel incredibly good so that our species continues to procreate. So these are two important functions. There's nothing wrong with it. It actually makes a ton of sense. And if we allow it to make sense, we can move away from all the stories that are causing distortion and problems. When we're being sexual, we're interacting with oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. These are all reward chemicals that say more, 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 get more of this. Now, one of the things that started me on this journey was understanding how important sexuality is to men. Now, the stats last month were that around, just in the top three porn sites, around 50 million viewers per day. And this is not to point at porn. This is to say sex matters to men. It's really important to us. We're hardwired for pleasure. So let's learn how to relate with pleasure in a healthy way that serves us for the man that we want to be, for the kind of life that we want to experience as the men that we are. The third thing that we needed to learn about sexuality as teenagers is that stress and anxiety have a huge impact on how we show up in the bedroom and how satisfied we will feel with our sex life. The worst thing that we can do as men is be in our heads and thinking while we are in intimate experiences. Because when we start overthinking, that's where we start to get into situations where we're thinking about, oh, is this person feeling pleasure from this? Am I doing it right? Are they enjoying this? Should I do something different? When we start to get into the mind like that, what happens is cortisol, adrenaline, these sorts of chemicals start to get released into our body, and those have a direct impact on arousal, on our erections, and how we are felt in the bedroom. Now, this is extremely important because whether our partners are aware of it or not, when we're feeling stress and anxiety, they're going to feel it in some way. Now, one of the most important things for us to be aware of is the growing number of men that are labeled with erectile dysfunction. Erectile dysfunction is a label that's being put on 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and more of them. Now, what I think this is really connected to is how much stress and anxiety younger men are feeling around sexuality. There's so much more adult entertainment to watch. There's so much more things to get us in our head and analyze when we're in the bedroom. Now, a good way to look at this in your own life is, do you watch more porn than you actually have intimate experiences with other people? This is going to train you to be more in your mind than be in your body. Ultimately, there's some practices that we can learn to utilize in the bedroom so we're thinking less, and that thinking is what will lead to the anxiety or stress that will then release that chemistry that affects our erections, and we can start to connect with the moment and be in our bodies. Breath is an important, powerful tool. When I am going to go on a stage and public speak, I'm staying connected to my breath. When I'm in the bedroom, I'm staying connected to my breath because it keeps me here in the feeling instead of the thinking. So number three, stress and anxiety have a huge impact on how we show up in the bedroom. The fourth thing we needed to learn about sexuality as teenagers is that sex is part of a healthy life. Just like eating well, getting good rest, exercising, having a fulfilling, healthy sex life revitalizes us, gives us energy to keep going, keep creating in our lives. And the thing is, this isn't new information. This has existed for thousands of years all over the globe. You can look up information that comes from India and Tantra that looked at sexuality as a path to enlightenment, to getting to higher states of consciousness. Or we can look at Taoism in China that was all about activating life force energy and moving it through the body. they believe that it connected to health, vitality, it actually working with different organs and body parts. Now, we can also look at ancient Egypt that looked at sexuality as a sacred thing and brought it into their ceremonies. This isn't something that we're rewriting. We're remembering that this information has existed for a long time. Having a healthy relationship to sexuality is a potent tool for creating the life that you want to live, being more creative in whatever it is that you are designing in your life. So, number four is sex is part of a healthy lifestyle, just like eating well, going to the gym, getting good rest. After hearing those four things we should have learned as teenagers, I want you to get really clear on which ones impacted your life the most. Because you didn't know these things, what happened in your life experience that's had a massive impact? If you become aware of that, whether you do it with me or with someone else, you can use that information to change the entire trajectory of your relationship with sexuality, which means the entire trajectory of you as a man. I've been doing personal development with men all over the world for the past decade, and this subject, sexuality, is the one that gets the least coverage, it's the least talked about, and needs our attention more than anything. Don't underestimate what you've discovered with these four things. Now, as I said, whether you do it on your own, watching YouTube, researching, reading things, great, go do that. Know that I have offerings as well. You can work with me directly. I have a training that's called the Sexual Reset Training. I have groups, men's groups online. So reach out to me if you'd like to learn more about those. I've got some other videos to share as well. What I care about is that you as a man creates a relationship with sexuality that empowers you, that puts you in a position that feel confident in your ability to create the life that you want to. Figure out which of these four impacted your life, change the trajectory of your relationship with sexuality.